Hello, everybody. Now, one of those questions that gets asked every once in a while is about the metaverse and whether or not you should have a church inside the metaverse. Now, it's a good question. It's a viable question. You hear a lot of people talking about this thing called the metaverse, and essentially, it's supposed to be a kind of this Ready Player One kind of thing where everybody goes in and lives kind of a second digital virtual life. Now, it's not an entirely new concept. We've had various kinds of metaverse style spaces in the past. It's just now we also have VR and things like that's broadly available. You can pick up a VR headset for pretty much the same price that you would pay for any of these current generation video game consoles. So it is becoming more of a common thing. Although I don't think that it has quite the uptake that would warrant necessarily taking your physical church and saying, hey, we're going to start a metaverse church. It doesn't make a lot of sense to supplement it because, first off, there are people in your backyard already that you're already poised to reach, right? So does it make a lot of sense to divert, if you've understandably discerned your calling, that your church has a very specific calling to some people in your area, and you've been pretty successful in reaching those people, unless you've got like a really clear call that says, Steve, go and reach out to people on the metaverse. I don't think it's a great plan to do it. I think it's better to double down on what you've been having success with and what you're clearly kind of called to a demographic there locally in your backyard. Focus in your volunteers, your resources, and your time to that. Don't go way off down some metaverse rabbit trail. Second off, the crypto metaverses and their virtual property stuff, it's probably a sham. First off, they have like these outrageous prices. Second off, there's a whole bunch of them. You don't know which one is going to kind of come out on top and which one's going to be the one to get into. And third, does it really matter if your virtual property is right next to Snoop Dogg's virtual property? Probably not so much. I mean, for starters, how many churches have we seen in like prime real estate that are dying? Happens all the time. So it's not whether or not your church is in the spot that determines whether or not you're any good. I mean, I've worked with churches that were out in the middle of nowhere, and people would travel out to them because they're just great churches that love people, love God, and that's why they did well. Now, there's also the issue of you may very well just absolutely lose your shirt on that virtual property because you don't know how many of these are going to end up being rug pulls, which is scams, things like that. It's just not a good idea. And like, what makes everybody think that that virtual travel is going to be the same as in-person travel? Like, if it's a digital virtual space and you set up your church over in this space over here, but they're living in this space over here, they can pretty much just click on a button and travel straight to your place. So the location's kind of moot. Nobody really cares anyway. Third, setting up a virtual church, to me, it looks like it's the same backward thinking that's caused churches to fail reaching Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z, the Zoomers. And by that, I mean, you can't do the whole, if you build it, they will come. I know I've talked about this before, but the Kevin Costner thing, it doesn't work in real life. It doesn't work with churches. Just because you establish one and you try to have one of these attraction models, it doesn't mean it's going to work today. And it hasn't been working today. That's why we're seeing disengagement from those generations more and more. And so what you really need to be doing is going out and reaching out to people. And when we're talking about the digital space, you actually need to be helping your people be able to interact on their digital presence as Christians. You don't necessarily want to say, hey, people, look, we've got a church, please come in. You want to say, hey, all you Christians that are Christians, we know that you have a presence in the physical world. We know you have a presence in the digital world. This is how you reach people for Christ. Number 4, I think it's kind of backwards. Because a virtual church, like a VR church, it doesn't really. It has this backwards trajectory of saying to people, look, I want you to have the ultimate culmination be attending this online virtual service thing where there's these other avatars. It's a little antisocial. Network stuff always kind of is, but also when you actually engage in like online communities and digital stuff, what usually actually happens is you meet people, you get to know those people, and then it leads to something on in the real world. And that's just kind of how things work. And examples of that are, YouTubers very regularly, once they have a following, they end up having some kind of like meetups or things, and people come into that. People are very keen to go to those meetups because people desire to have that real world connection. Same, like I often talk about, the Taylor Swift stuff. Like my wife likes Taylor Swift videos and music. As soon as Taylor Swift has a concert in town, she wants to go to it because she wants to see the Taylor Swift like in person, even though it's across the other side of the arena. It doesn't matter. She wants to have that physical experience, and it is a pretty cool physical experience. I did go to one of those once. But here, another example, like my dad, he got into this kind of game called iRacing, and they race, virtual race cars. And during COVID, there was actually like NASCAR. Actually, I think used the game to do their races and stuff. But there's a lot of Christians on there that have kind of grouped up together, and they started to pray for each other. They started to do outreach, and they also ended up doing in-person physical stuff. So as soon as there were Daytona races that they could go to, people were flying out to go meet up at these Daytona races, and they actually go to see each other. They go have barbecues, things like that. They'll do fly-ins so that they can all see each other in the physical real world, because there's this tendency for people to desire to take things from digital to real life. And if your church is kind of looking at, well, their culmination point is going to be this virtual online thing, yeah, maybe it kind of works for some people, but ultimately I think what people really desire is something in the real world. And there's a reason for that. And that brings me to number 5, which is theologically. So God has placed us in a real world, and he engages with us here in this real world, right? And that's really where we're at our best. And that's really where we're native. We're kind of like fish in water in the real world. More so when we get online and things, we're a little bit like trying to swim in the air, and it doesn't quite work out the same. And let me tell you a quick quote. This comes from Chiang, who is a sci-fi author. And I think it's a really interesting quote because he says, "There's no way that the metaverse is going to help with things like income inequality, food deserts, people who cannot buy groceries, disparities, and access to healthcare." So what he's pointing out is there is an emptiness or hollowness. It's not the real world that we actually live in when we're on the metaverse. And so there's a need for us to engage with people, the problems that they really have, the lives that they're really living and what they're facing. And there's a little bit of a point there that the metaverse is an attempt to escape from that. And we don't really want to escape from the world. What we want to do is kind of show that God is active in the world and that he's here with us. And so there is that risk. So in short, my point here is technology is never going to be the end result. It never should be the end result of what you're doing as a church. It should be part of a pathway that leads to human connection in the real world, where we actually are, where we actually live. And I don't see setting up VR kind of churches or things in the metaverse as a great way to do that. And this is coming to you from somebody that, I am a big fan. You can see my VR headset right back there. I love VR. I think it's pretty cool. I'm not in it all the time. I wouldn't want to be in it all the time. But even still, I don't think that a VR church is going to kind of fill that void that people are going to be be feeling and encountering. So don't do it. Stick to what you've been called to. Stick to the demographic you've been called to. Train your people to engage in the digital world. If they're out there doing VR and they're talking to people about their faith, those are things that are going to happen. As they make friends out there, they will encounter them, and they'll talk to them, and they'll go, "Oh, hey, you're over in this area. Hey, like you should check out a church like locally to you. I can help you find one. Googling it or whatever." So again, that's where I'm at on setting up virtual properties and things like that, and trying to do crypto properties and NFTs and all of that. I would skip it and avoid it at this point. Will it be big someday? Will it be something that maybe you do? Maybe, but I don't see it happening in the near future. All right, that's all for me this week. I hope you've had a great week this week, and I look forward to seeing you guys again next week. Okay, now tell everybody to like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe.